Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Mets Daily. We're late. Lots happened today in Mets land. Let's just forget about the loss. Mets swept in San Diego. They got shut out. Clay Holmes stunk. The offense stunk. That is that. They're swept. Phillies lost to the White Sox, so the Mets are still in first place entering trade deadline Thursday. We're recording this at 10:07 p.m. right now, Eastern time on Wednesday night. Trade deadline is 6 p.m. tomorrow. Mets, huge day. Putting together arguably the best bullpen in baseball. First off, Tyler Rogers. They acquire the submarine baller from the San Francisco Giants, the righty. He has an expiring contract. He's 34 years old, and he's got some of the best numbers in the game. So let's break it down. First off, the Mets giving up Jose Butto, which you saw the emotions he went through. It was like Wilmer Flores all over. Again, except this time, this guy actually did get traded. You feel bad. Butto only knows the Mets. He's been good with the Mets, but he's been a little bit shaky. He's not the most reliable reliever. I think the Giants will love to have him. He seems like a great guy. Giants get themselves a good one. Blade Tidwell, number 10 prospect. We saw Blade Tidwell for a couple innings, couple starts. Wasn't very good. The Mets are much higher on other starting pitchers in their system, like Sproat and McClain, that I think we pretty much knew Tidwell was getting traded to somebody at this trade deadline. He's included in this deal for Tyler Rogers. This was the one where everyone was like, you know what, you had to include Gilbert too. Number 12, Drew Gilbert. Now, listen, Mets believe in Carson Bench a lot more than they believe in Drew Gilbert. The Mets believe in Jet Williams more than they believe in Drew Gilbert. We don't know what the ceiling is on Gilbert. I don't think he's going to be Pete Crow Armstrong. And that's what some Mets fans were like, this is an overpay. In my mind, Buster Posey did a fantastic job in this deal. He got Butto, who has no options. He's ready to be in that Giants bullpen. Now the Giants look to be sellers, finding their way out of it here. So Butto will get a chance to pitch. Maybe he becomes a starter again. Maybe even Tidwell becomes a starter this season for them as well. So two or maybe all three of these guys could be in the big leagues for the Giants this year. So this is a good return for them. Drew Gilbert was getting blocked. Carson Bench is tearing up the minor leagues. Drew Gilbert has not been. And, the reality is when the Mets have more faith in other guys, players become expendable. And I think the name value is how could you give up Gilbert? But the reality is that the Mets really believed in him, or if he was having a great minor league season, he would have been here in center field because they obviously have a need there, which we'll talk about. Gilbert, 252 average, 354 on base, 14 homers, 53 RBIs this year. He's been fine, but he's 24 years old. The Mets have prospects, like I said, that they like better than Drew Gilbert. So they felt, you know what? We can move him. We have Jet Williams, who can play outfield, our number 1 prospect. We have Carson Bench, who is tearing up Double-A, our number 4 prospect. We have Jacob Reimer, who could play outfield, our number 6 prospect. We have Ryan Clifford, who's play outfield, number 7. We have A.J. Ewing, number 9. So the Mets, Nick Mirabito, the Mets had a plethora of guys that they said, you know what? We can part ways with Drew Gilbert. There's other players blocking him. They could have also lost him in the Rule 5 draft, so that played a factor in this as well. So I don't think any Met fan lost sleep over losing Butto or Tidwell. It was the Gilbert part where they're like, wow, you had to give up 3 players for a rental for 2 months, but you got to give to get. And look at Tyler Rogers' numbers. First off, he's a submarine baller, which we remember Chad Bradford back from 2006. Chad Bradford was awesome. Look at those numbers. 1.80 ERA, a whip of .86, 38 strikeouts. He's been consistently good throughout his career. The guy's got a 2.79 career ERA since getting the league in 2019, all with the Giants. 2.82 last year. 50 innings this year. He's not a strikeout guy. He's more of a finesse pitcher, off-speed stuff. He has 1 postseason appearance where he pitched 3 1/3 innings in relief, giving up no runs. He's good. And from our guy Jolly Olive tweeted out, 27.4 soft contact percentage is the best mark in baseball of any pitcher with 50-plus innings. .86 whip ranks second in Major League Baseball of pitchers with 50-plus innings. And 64.4% ground ball percentage ranks second in Major League pitchers with 50-plus innings. I mean, that's those stats tell you all you need to know. Incredible get here from the Mets, even if it's a rental. And hey, he is an expiring contract, but maybe the Mets convince him to stay. Maybe it's 2 years, $12 million, and they get him to stay. So that is a fantastic move. If you want to say overpay, fine, but you got to give to get. The Mets have a lot of prospects, and you can't prospect hug. This is the year to go in for it, and David Stearns is going in. And why we know he's going in? Because the move he made right after that. Going out and getting Ryan Helsley. I thought the Mets were done. Yeah, we got Gregory Soto, we got Tyler Rogers, we got a lefty, we got a righty. He said, no. Once he saw the Phillies go out right after the Mets got Rogers and get Joan Duran from the Twins, he said, not today, Junior. He goes out and gets Hell's Bells. Now, the back end of the bullpen, you got Ryan Helsley in the 8th throwing 102. You got Edwin Diaz throwing 100 in the 9th. You got bells. You got trumpets. Citi Field's about to be a party. I mean, they're going to have, Steve Aoki show up. They're going to be the best DJs in town. There's going to be a zoo at Citi Field. I mean, they already sell out every night. Hell's Bells, to add to this bullpen, you get Tyler Rogers, the numbers he has. Ryan Helsley, you see the numbers. This is a guy we talked about the other day about the Mets getting. They got him. This is why you got to watch Mets Daily. We tell you who the Mets are getting. We didn't have Rogers. No Mets analyst, host, anyone thought of Rogers. But Rogers moves as the Giants became a seller and they move him. But this is a guy that had 49 saves last year. He throws 102. He's a two-time All-Star, and he had a 1.25 ERA in 2022, best in baseball. This is an elite reliever. And while he's had a bit of a down year with that 3 ERA in 36 innings, 21 saves, now he has a less leveraged role, setting up Edwin Diaz. And now you look at this Mets bullpen, what they do with this Helsley ad. And by the way, the return, I think it's a fair return. I think Mets fans think that they fleeced the Cardinals in this. I don't think it's a fleece. I think this is fair. I think Rogers might have been a bit of an overpay, but look at the differences. Rogers 1.8 ERA, Helsley 3. I mean, Rogers having a much better season than Ryan Helsley has had. Helsley's been the closer, though, so he's had higher leverage opportunities. Now these guys are both setup men. And what's good about these two dynamic arms is Rogers is the ground ball guy that doesn't get a lot of strikeouts with the off-speed stuff. And Helsley's the pure gas who will strike out guys. So you're putting together a bullpen for the playoffs that has all different kinds of pitchers in it that is going to fool opposing hitters in the playoffs. And that's why you did it. And another stat from our guy Jolly Olive, which I found interesting, Helsley and Rogers against the Cubs, Dodgers, Phillies, and Padres this year. 4 teams that the Mets might have to match up against. A couple of those, maybe not all 4, obviously, in the playoffs. 19 and a third innings, 1 run, 1 walk, 16 strikeouts. They have an ERA, what is that, 0.5, 0.3? 1 run over 19 and a third between Helsley and Rogers against Cubs, Dodgers, Phillies, and Padres. That's pretty damn filthy, and that's what you need. You're thinking about guys who can have success in the playoffs, and Ryan Helsley can do that. Tyler Rogers can do that. Helsley has only pitched 8 innings of relief in his career, 5.63 ERA. So not really a big enough sample size. He had 5 1/3 in 2019 where he gave up no runs, 1 2/3 in 2020 gave up 1, and then 4 earned runs in 1 inning in 2022 is what inflated it. So too small of a sample size for him in the playoffs, but this is a guy that throws gas. He's got electric stuff. And now you think about the Mets bullpen that went from a bunch of AAA and 4A guys. And remember, the Mets lost a lot of guys to injuries. They lost Minter. Helsley's another expiring contract. Maybe the Mets bring him back if they don't move on from Diaz. Or maybe they say, you know what, let's put this bullpen back next year. Let's have Diaz, Minter, Rogers, Helsley, and the Mets bullpen is lights out next year. So you start thinking about that as well. But these are expiring contracts. But you look at the bullpen. Diaz, Helsley, Rogers, Soto, Raley, Stanek, Garrett. Stanek and Garrett now become your 6th and 7th options. That's the recipe to trying to put together a championship roster. No disrespect to them, but Stanek's been shaky. Garrett's been shaky. They're now 6th and 7th option. Maybe you call them 5, 6 if you have Soto behind them. But Gregory Soto, lights out, against lefties. Brooks Raley, a finesse pitcher, gets lefties and righties. Helsley, righty heater. Rogers, soft stuff, righty. Diaz, cheese. Stanek, cheese. Garrett, finesse, and cheese. They got every kind of pitcher in that pen, and that is a bullpen you're confident in, and it might be the best in baseball. You're watching Mets Daily. I'm Jake Brown, at Jake Brown Live. Mets acquire Tyler Rogers, Ryan Helsley. They give up Baez, Dome, and Elisalt. Listen, he gave up number 8, Jesus Baez, 20-year-old, probably 4 years away still from the big leagues. Dome, single A, again, probably 3 or 4 years away. Elisalt, same thing. These are guys that were still far away. Elsall wasn't even in the top 30. So essentially it's 8th, 14th, unranked for Ryan Helsley, who's one of the best closers in the game. This is a fantastic move, I thought, from David Stearns. And to respond to the Phillies getting Joan Duran, which is incredible, remember they signed David Robertson, so now they have Robertson and Duran in the picture. Mets bullpen still better. Joan Duran under team control 2 more years after this. That's why that's a great move for them. They gave up the number 4 and number 6 prospects. So you got to give to get. Today, the Mets trade away their 8th, 10th, 12th, 14th. They gave up 4 top 14 prospects, and they got 2 of the best pitchers, 2 of the best relievers in the sport. I say that's a good day for David Stearns. So what does he do next? That's the question. What do we do? While you're watching this, they may have done something. Again, it's 10:18 p.m. on Wednesday night, July 30th, deadline 6 p.m. tomorrow, center field. That's the next move. You have to get a bat. And I think Luis Robert, it feels like it's down to the Mets and Phillies, according to all reports. I think the Mets got to do what they can to try to land him. If not, Brandon Lau intrigues me more and more by the minute. If the Mets can find a way to get Brandon Lau and a Robert or a Mullins, I think Mullins will cost less. If they can find a way to get 2 bats, you're cooking with gas. But I think the reality is they get 1. My gut says Luis Robert or Cedric Mullins as a Met. And then the final piece of the puzzle is you're seeing it. You saw Clay Holmes. Clay Holmes looks gassed. Frankie Montas is not good. This team they have a lot of bullpen arms. They need one more starter. I think that's the cherry on the top of this trade deadline. Can they land Edward Cabrera from the Marlins? Can they add Merrill Kelly from the D-backs, one of those guys? Those are the names I'm looking at. I don't think a Stephen Kwan, Shane Bieber package is realistic. You saw the price it was for Rodgers. That would probably be through the moon to get Kwan. So I don't know if the Mets are going to do that. But I can see Robert and Cabrera or Robert and Merrill Kelly being Mets. But when you watch this Thursday, we'll have more. Tomorrow, we're going to go live for more than 2 hours tomorrow up until the deadline. So stay tuned. I think we're going to do 4 to 6 p.m. tomorrow. We're going to be live straight for 2 hours. So come join us, all members. If you want to be a Mets Daily Insider member, scan that code, $5 a month for extra content on top. I appreciate the support. At Jake Brown Live on all socials. Follow me. I was on TikTok Live all day today on Wednesday. You missed out if you're not following. So Jake Brown Live on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, and at Mets Daily Show on Twitter. Smash that thumbs up. We are about 30 subscribers from 2,000. Get us there today. It'll be trade deadline day. It'll be Mets Daily 2K day. Get us to 2K. We'll be all over the trade deadline Thursday. Mets have more moves to make. They're not done yet. Hell of a day today. They're going to go into Citi Field Friday against the Giants, who they just made a deal with a new-looking roster. Still a bat and maybe a pitcher to add. We'll find out Thursday, and we got you covered right here on Mets Daily. We'll talk to you on Thursday. Thanks for watching.